Hi, I'm Danielle, and I'm a Registered Dietitian Nutritionist. Today, I'm talking about which food additives to watch out for if you have Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. Because let's be real, unless you're cooking all your foods from scratch or consuming whole foods exclusively, you're going to find yourself in a grocery store aisle with lots of products to choose from. And not all food products are formulated the same way. So here are 8 of the more questionable food additives that are being studied by researchers with respect to promoting inflammation and triggering disease activity in inflammatory bowel disease. First up, Carrageenan. Although Carrageenan has been used for decades as a thickening agent in a wide variety of foods, there's a growing body of evidence that's raising questions about its safety, and several GI doctors I've talked to are growing concerned with Carrageenan for IBD specifically as well. While most studies find that Carrageenan is safe because it's consumed in such small amounts, some studies have linked Carrageenan to digestive diseases, inflammation, and even cancer. More research is needed to have a definitive understanding of what Carrageenan does to the gut and body. Wondering what Carrageenan is? Carrageenan is a type of seaweed that's used to stabilize foods by making them a gel. Carrageenan can be found in many food products, including ice creams, cheeses, chocolate milk, breads, jams and jellies, even some processed lunch meats, and also a lot of vegan foods, as they kind of use Carrageenan as an alternative to animal-based gelatin. Next up, we have Maltodextrin. One reason to limit Maltodextrin is to keep your gut bacteria healthy. According to one research study, maltodextrin can change your gut bacteria composition in a way that makes you more susceptible to disease. It can suppress the growth of probiotics in your digestive system, which are important for immune system function. And that same study showed that maltodextrin can increase the growth of bacteria such as E. coli, which is associated with inflammatory bowel disease. Maltodextrin is a white powder made from corn, rice, potato starch, or wheat. Even though it comes from plants, it's highly processed. Maltodextrins are closely related to corn syrup solids, only differing in their sugar content. Maltodextrin is generally used as a thickener or filler to increase the volume of a processed food. It's also a preservative that increases the shelf life of packaged foods. It's inexpensive and easy to produce, so it's useful for thickening products like instant puddings, gelatins, sauces, and salad dressings. And it can also be combined with artificial sweeteners like Splenda to sweeten products. Moving on to fructose, new research suggests that eating a diet high in fructose can damage the colon and cause inflammation. This finding suggests that a higher fructose intake may have played a role in the increased incidence of IBD in recent decades. Fructose is the sweetest of all sugars, and the consumption of fructose has increased by almost 1/3 in the US over the past 3 decades, according to some estimates. The biggest source of fructose in the American diet is high fructose corn syrup, used because it's very cheap. If you're wondering what high fructose corn syrup actually is, it's a sweetener derived from corn syrup, which is processed from corn. It became a really popular sweetener in the late 1970s when the price of regular sugar was high, while corn prices were low due to government subsidies. Some examples of packaged foods that contain high fructose corn syrup are soda, candy, sweetened yogurt, condiments, bread, some canned fruits and juices, granola bars, cereals, and snack foods. Next up, xanthan gum. In human nutritional research studies, large doses of xanthan gum were found to have the following side effects: increased frequency of bowel movements, increased stool output, softer stools, increased gas, and altered gut bacteria. These side effects don't appear to occur unless a lot is consumed. In a typical diet, it would be unlikely that you'd be eating as much as was consumed in that study. However, these are symptoms we care about, so it could be something for you to explore further. Xanthan gum is used as a thickener or stabilizer to improve a packaged food's texture, consistency, flavor, and shelf life. It's frequently added to gluten-free products because they can provide the elasticity and fluffiness that gluten gives traditional baked goods. So common foods that contain xanthan gum are gluten-free products, baked goods, soups, sauces, and low-fat foods. Let's talk about sugar alcohols, one of the better known food additives that may affect the gut for people with inflammatory bowel disease. One drawback to these sugar alcohols in foods is that they're absorbed more slowly in the small intestine than other sugars, which can lead to diarrhea, abdominal pain, and gas. For this reason, sugar alcohols are definitely not recommended during flares, but really, I don't normally recommend them to people with IBD in general. So when checking an ingredient list, any ingredient that ends in all, means that it's a sugar alcohol. So for example, sorbitol, mannitol, and xylitol. Sorbitol is the most widely available sugar alcohol manufactured from corn syrup. Sorbitol is frequently used to maintain the moistness in certain products like marshmallows and shredded coconut, as well as used in a lot of sugar-free products like candies. Interestingly, there's a substantial amount of sorbitol found naturally in dried plums or prunes, which causes that laxative effect that the fruit is so known for. Now let's talk about other artificial sweeteners next up on the food additive list, because people with IBD may want to limit artificial sweetener consumption. For example, a study published a few years ago examined the impact of Splenda, which is made up of 1% sucralose and 99% maltodextrin that we talked about earlier, on the effect of the gut microbiome and animals with Crohn's disease, specifically on their small intestinal inflammation. Now, this was an animal study, but it did show that Splenda may alter the gut microbiome both in the healthy and the Crohn's mice. But with the Crohn's mice, with that altered microbiome, they showed increased intestinal inflammation. So we absolutely need more research in humans, but it can be something to keep in mind if you're exploring what your food triggers are. Polysorbate 80 and methylcellulose will be the final two food additives we explore in this video. We learned in mouse experiments that polysorbate 80 and methylcellulose can change the species composition of gut bacteria and induce or trigger intestinal inflammation and even increase intestinal permeability. We need human studies showing this too, but it can be something to keep in mind. Polysorbate 80 is derived from sugar alcohols. It's used as an emulsifier or defoamer in foods, so it's often used in ice creams or puddings to keep the creamy texture without separating. And it can also be used to bulk up foods and keep sauces smooth. Methylcellulose is a chemical compound derived from treating vegetable cellulose with a chemical agent to create a tasteless, colorless powder. And this powder is commonly used as a binding or thickening agent in many foods like ice creams, breads, cakes, and chocolates. Methylcellulose also aids the absorption of water into the intestines, which helps make stools softer. So it's a common ingredient in laxatives like Citrusel. So that was a lot of information. The take-home message here is that these food additive ingredients are generally the mark of highly processed foods. So there's a case to be made for seeking out some simple swaps to reduce the number of these ingredients in your eating plan in favor of whole or more minimally processed alternatives. Are you sensitive to any of these common food additives? If so, please share with us by commenting below. And if you found this video helpful, please let me know by liking it and subscribing to this YouTube channel. Thanks so much.